Hey, what's going on, guys? You already know what day it is. It is the day after Sunday. Welcome to another episode of Eat Up Mondays with your boy Trevor Pope. Listen, just want to say thank you guys for joining me. I pray that you had a great weekend. Listen, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do not forget to click that subscribe button. And if this message encourages you, please share it with someone else. But listen, before we get into our spiritual meal, I want to encourage you guys to check out my brother. You know, he's like a brother from another mother to me. We've been friends for almost like 20 years now. And this guy has a great and awesome cooking channel. Now, I know we like to get it in here spiritually, but I know a lot of you like to get it in naturally as well. So, this is my closest friend. We've been best men at each other's weddings. He just celebrated this year 14 years of marriage. I'll be celebrating 12 years of marriage. Just an awesome brother. And I want you guys to check out his channel. He does some awesome recipes. He cooks different things. It might be something that you guys like. So if you look up here, you'll see his picture is Cooking and Grilling with Carl. I will leave a link in the description for those of you that may want to go and check that out. You might find some recipes you like, something that you might want to make for the family, or you might run into one of your favorite, recipes or meals. So without further ado, guys, we took care of the natural. Let's get ready to dig into the spiritual. Without further ado, let's dig in. Listen, a lot of things have been going on in a lot of our lives. I've just been talking to so many different people, just looking at what I've been going through personally, my family, church family, natural family, friends, whatever have you. It just seems like things are definitely heightening and things are getting hotter and hotter. And as I've been talking to people and as I've been just looking at the climate and just watching the way the world has been going, whether that's dealing with the virus, the vaccine, all of the murders that we're seeing all over the country in every area, urban and also residential, it's just been out of control. And it just seems like the furnace is getting hotter and hotter. And as I begin to think about that, I thought about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And for those of you that are familiar with this story, Daniel chapter 3, and I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but starting at that 15th verse, and I encourage you guys to go and read that whole entire chapter because it is so encouraging. But as I thought about their situation and when they faced the burning fiery furnace, I just think about how we face our life trials and how they resemble a burning furnace and how, so many times it gets hotter and hotter. And I just wanted us to look at their stance that they took against King Nebuchadnezzar, because this is the same way we need to take a stance against these trials and all of these different things that's hitting our lives and that may have us discouraged and down. We have to take the same type of stance that they took. And when we look in verse 15, for those of you that know the story, and like I said, please go and read it. King Nebuchadnezzar wanted them to bow down to an image that he had made. And when you look in the 15th verse, he says, "Now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music." So when they heard this music, or when they hear this music, he wanted them to fall down and worship the image which he had made. And it says, "Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands?" And that's very important, because when we look at our trials and the things that we go through, sometimes it wants to get our attention in a way where we will worship it, where we will allow it to just take all of our energy and all of our focus to a point where we almost worship it, where that's the only thing we think about, when our minds should be constantly on God and just trusting and believing in how he's going to work it out. But I love their response to King Nebuchadnezzar. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able. So they're crystal clear that, listen, we know for a fact that God is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. So basically, they're saying, listen, however this thing goes down, we're not going to serve your gods. We are not going to bow down to the image that you have made. And when we look at Romans 8 and 28, it says, and we know that all things work together for the good of them that are called according to his purpose, and those that love him. Let me quote that scripture again. It says, and we know that all things work together for the good of those that love God and those that are called according to his purpose. So no matter how situations are working out in our lives, we have to remember that no matter what is going to work out for our good. And a lot of times when we read this scripture and we see where Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego says, listen, King, God is going to deliver us out of your hand. But if not, sometimes when people see that, it's almost like they feel like they were saying prophetically, like, we know that he is, but if not, like it was a contradiction. But I think what they were saying was, either way, to this day, we're going to be delivered out of your hand, whether that's through a miracle or through death. But at the end of the day, however it all plays out, we will remain on the Lord's side. And if you know the story, King Nebuchadnezzar, he gets upset. He has them thrown in the fire, but before he has them thrown in the fire, he has the furnace heated up 7 times hotter than it originally was. And that's how it feels like a lot of these trials that's been hitting our lives. And I talked to you guys about this recently, trials after trials after trials. They just seem like they're heating up, and heating up. But what we have to remember, just like we've seen in this story, we cannot allow ourselves to worship these trials and focus on these trials. We have to take a stance and says, listen, no matter what happens in this trial, no matter how it plays out, how it goes down, at the end of the day, I will not bow to this trial. I will not give up my faith in the Lord. And when we look at the conclusion of what happened, we'll jump down to the 24th verse. And like I said, please go and read this for yourself. It says, then King Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was astonished. This was after they were thrown into the furnace, and rose up in haste and spake and said unto his counselors, did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, true, O king. He answered and said, lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. When we look at this story, what do we find out? That even in the midst of that burning fiery furnace, Jesus was with them. Why? Because their trust was placed in him. And I am here to encourage you, in the midst of your trial, your burning fiery furnace that you're dealing with right now, if your faith is in the Lord, if you truly believe him like you say you do, know that he will work out your situation. Know that he is right in the midst of that trial with you. If you hang on and hold on, he will deliver you out of that situation. So I just wanted to encourage you guys. I apologize if the camera lighting was going up and down, but I just wanted to encourage you guys that, listen, no matter what, continue to keep your faith in God. The furnace is going to get hotter. We see the world is dying. It is getting crazier and crazier. But listen, we have a promise that if we hang on to the Lord until we leave here, if we hold on to his unchanging hand, if we keep our faith in him, we will live eternally with him. So I pray that this encouraged you. And if it did, please share it with somebody else. But know that God knows everything you're going to. God knows everything, that you're going through. Jesus has it all under control. But what it's going to take is faith in him and trust in him, and knowing that if he did it in the past, he'll do it again in the future and in the present. So know, guys, that I love you. And until the next time we share a beautiful spiritual meal together, shalom.